I'm live, Mr. Wall. Okay, good evening, friends and family. And when I mean and say friends and family, I mean everybody that watches, everybody that comes on, everybody that shares, and everybody that cares. So thank you all for tuning into RAEL Live Recovery Stories. It's been a great help to me, and the feedback that we're getting is tremendous. And I just wanna say that that whoever's speaking doesn't make the meeting. Whoever shares and whoever's watching is actually, there can't be a one-man meeting. And that's in the same way an addict or a person can't recover alone. So the people that watch, if it's doing something for you, remember where you were before you started watching. And which brings me to, maybe I'll start at the sort of beginning of my program. Sorry. So again, good evening all. I know yesterday evening we had one or two lagging problems, but at least we've got each other, and we can watch afterwards, and we can share, and we can do all of that. So how's it all? It's lekker to see names pop up here of guys that have been through the program, of people that I've connected with over social media and things like that. And I must say it again, that it's meeting. It's all of us that share the posts and the experience and strength and hope and the way we support each other. Good evening all. The names are popping up a little bit too quick for me to mention them. Good evening Diane, good evening Clutchy, how's it Craig, how's it Gladwin, how's it Auntie Connie, Debbie, Lee J there in the UK, how's it Lucy, that's my sister. The doctor's watching. How's it Nicole, I hope things are going well with you. It's lekker to see your name popping up there. Gaynor, that's Andrew. How's it? It's lekker. So I just want to maybe start off by saying what worked for me, and I'm gonna read a little bit of something tonight. So what we read isn't always for people in recovery. It's like I said before, we don't only need recovery from the drugs. We need recovery from our lifestyle, from our emotions that we've been through, from the things that have happened, from the things we've done to people, from the desperate state of living that we've gotten into. Whether it's parents, whether it's loved ones, whether it's somebody struggling with life, this is a life program. It's not a it's a getting well program. Getting well from all kinds of illness, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. And yes, I did burn down the butchery. I don't want to tell you which one because there might be informers that are watching. How's it, Garth? Might be people that need a bit of bucks because of the lockdown that aren't working, that might think me. How's it, Cindy? So yes, I did burn down the butchery. I was very naughty growing up. Mr. Hall wants me to tell some stories so you can get to know me better, because he says if I can, anybody can. But I think it was more naughtiness and seeking attention no matter which way I got it, as long as I was getting it. And I think there's many dysfunctional people like that. Obviously, I I grew up. Most people say that whatever I try, whether it's good or bad, I get good at it. So if I'm doing bad, I'm good at being bad, and if I'm doing good, then I'm doing good. So maybe it's a bit of an extremist sort of. But yeah, I think growing up, I don't know say exactly when I started using all of that. But I mean, I was smoking cigarettes at a young age. Yes, Garth, I also burnt my Corsa out. That was 3 days because I was drugged, excited, high, and thought I had made it in life. And then when there was petrol leaking, I used the lighter to see what was wrong, and almost burnt myself out. And the strange thing that when I ran away from the car on fire, at the time I was living so ungodly, but the first thing I said when I ran away from the car that burst into flames was, I'm sorry God, I'm sorry God. Because I had been on parole shortly before that, got 2 cases, and was locked up, and I was negotiating with God, please God, don't let the correctional find out that I'm locked up and I'm on parole. And by some kind of grace or miracle or whatever it is, I don't know why. And I promised God I would never steal again. And at the time, things started going well, and I stayed off drugs. Like I said last night, I moved a little bit around South Africa. Obviously, everywhere I moved, I took the problem with me, which was myself, and found something wrong with everything all the time. So So at that stage, I was obviously living ungodly. I thought I had made it. I was making a lot of money and things like that, in the right way and in the wrong way, and everybody thought that I was doing well and things like that. But I was catching on a lot of nonsense, and that's why. Okay, yeah, I've also got a nickname, Mr. Price. That oh geez, yeah, I've sold all kinds of appliances and and goods. I'm just checking the comments that are coming up here now. Um, and and what I done there, I was living a very ungodly life, and and many times God has been there to put people like Mr. All across my path, and to pull me just away from the pit of either losing my life, or my life being ended, or I was telling the guys earlier that I've been to Stickland a couple of times. I could have been in Falkenberg. I don't remember all of it. I've been in the detox facility of Carl Bremer. I've been in surveillance rooms in Milnerton Mediclinic, and I've been in more than one correctional facility. Sure, I've been asked to leave clubs already in my. I'm young, but in my younger days, and my lips blue, the bouncer asked me to leave the club because if I die inside the club, then they're gonna close the club down. Like, instead of asking me check, do you need hospital or something? But anyways, all these events of different things. So probably round about, hey, I was my first day of school. I was in the office for fighting, and the point is that I'm trying to get to is that I had all these defects of character that I didn't know until I started taking inventory of myself and started learning lessons and things like that. And no matter what age you are, you can learn lessons if you're open-minded and you're willing to listen to people. But I haven't only done bad. I must say that. How's it, Stormy? You also came through the doors of RAEL. Doesn't matter where you are, where you went after that. You're sober today, and I've also done a lot of wrong things. Yes, I did leave on Mr. Wall's mom's birthday in 2016, but yeah, so I was always sort of seeking attention, done the extreme things for people to notice me. Some call it small man syndrome, some call it low self-esteem, some call it false pride, maybe even acting confident when you're not. Yeah, I can tell you some hectic stories. They're saying Sharon there in the background. I once tried to pick up a lady of the night that turned out to be a man of the night, and that just wasn't right. I drove home quiet and to the speed limit. It was silent, and I was devastated because it wasn't what I expected. It looked like a woman though. But anyways, so we've been through all kinds of things, but I've done some insane things. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a rebel, but I was very naughty, and the underlying issue is that I wanted attention and looked for it in the wrong ways. And I know that there's many people that come through our doors that have done that. By the end of Standard 4, I was doing community service for vandalism at the soccer club, and I promise you, I wasn't taught these. Like I'll say it again. Myself and my sister, we were raised and given exactly the same opportunities, given exactly the same food portion at night, given exactly the same love, given exactly the same everything. But just the statistics in today's world is that if you got two kids, the scary possibility of one of them turning out to be addicted to something is just the truth. So I went through life, not taking it seriously. I had parents that were extremely on my side. My dad would stick by me even when I was wrong. I promise you. He would stand up for me, and so I was doing community service at the soccer club. I can say where it was because we had a hideout there where we used to smoke enchies and that on the Scullum. Enchies turned to dacha and all the other things that can make you high. And that's why I'm so big on education, because there wasn't enough people like Mr. Hall at that time that had the experience and had the education and that to pass on. There wasn't people like you people that are sharing our meetings and things like that to educate parents. Thank you. I don't know who said I look good in pink. A lot say I look good in any color, as long as it's on me. That's humble. But so I'd get attention, and I think it was through a lack of education. I was doing all kinds of things, obviously being influenced, trying to be with the in crowd, sucking lighter gas, doing Tipex thinners, inhaling thinners, benzene and all that kind of nonsense, and started drinking at a young age, and would always do things like my dad would ask me, where do you get this from? Like, where does it come from, And it all stemmed from maybe human nature, maybe I don't know what it was, but that's the way it was. And I got bailed out. Mom and dad was there for me, never turned their back on me. But as I got older, the chances ran out. Just like the guys that walk through these doors. And I wouldn't. My parents never ever gave up on me. They gave up on not knowing what to do. And that's what I'm talking about when I come back to the education. That maybe at that time in my life, I was doing drugs before I knew about addiction, before I knew that drugs, what I was doing was classified as drugs. And So the community service actually became a joy, because then we started catching on other nonsense that we never got caught for, so I'm not going to mention it. And done all kinds of things. We used to smoke NCs on the Scullum. I ended up burning a butchery down. Sure, as I progressed to high school, we hey, there's so many stories I can tell you, but it's those were still young and innocent times, or innocent as I thought. And that's what brings me back to the education again, is that people like us, and the recovering addicts watching, the people's parents, and the loved ones of addicts, share these videos, because it could just reach a kid or a mother of a kid that is going in the same direction. And just like they say all the time, prevention is better than cure. Yeah, so then probably around about by standard six, yes, yeah, I was naughty. I started wanting to be noticed and things like that. Obviously, in high school, and then started messing around with the party drugs and all of that. In the holidays of standard six, somebody's parents went away, and we opened the garage. It was a limited edition at the time, Opel, and we went joyriding, and we rode the car off, 8 of us in the car, sorry. And you know, at the time, it's maybe a joke, but as I look back on it now, we took out, sure, it was three main pillars on a corner plot, and the car almost landed up in the people's bedroom, like. And we thought it was quite funny that, so each school holiday, sort of long holiday, I spent the time either doing community service for vandalism or fixing people's walls that we had crashed into. And that was the night before Christmas. And then on the 2nd of January, being game for, on the 3rd of January, sorry, anything and all of that. Older guy told us about if we take these seeds, we're gonna see aliens and whatever. And obviously trying to be that oak, I like drank of my seeds and somebody else's seeds, because I wanted to see the most aliens. And next thing I knew, I was chasing animals around Milnerton Mediclinic. But this was only 3 days later. I came out of a blackout looking at my hands, and it looked like tarantula feet. It was like hairy and all that, and I thought I was in a hotel for a while. But all these things, at the time, I didn't take seriously. If I look at it now, it makes me grateful to be alive. Grateful to be alive, because if there weren't people at those times and at those places, then I wouldn't have been here. So, as it progressed, it obviously went to different drugs and things like that, and different acts of insanity, and it became repetitive. And at that time, my life probably, to me, wasn't unmanageable, because I progressed into studying with the help of my parents. Obviously, I don't think I would have been qualified or been anywhere at all in that sort of area of my life if it wasn't for my parents. But there was always that safety net. There was always, when I was in the wrong, Dad was behind me in court. Dad was willing to pay the bail. And it got to a point where I turned around in court one day thinking that somebody's going to be there to pay my bail, or to organize me a lawyer, or to bring me some cigarettes, or to bring me food, and there was nobody there. And that wasn't my parents turning their back on me. That was probably what the start to my life being saved. That was the start to my life being saved. So anyways, life progressed, and I'd done what I needed to, or what I knew to survive, sort of, at the time. Going through life tit for tat, holding resentments, um, greed, having this picture in my mind, not listening to people that has more experience than me. And I always, one of the jokes I used to make is that I never had a drug problem, I had a money problem. So, anyways, I've lived in a couple of provinces, and I know I'm repeating it, but I was always taking the problem with, and I'd make it for a while, very short lived, until I get a bit slim and all of that, but taking the addiction with me all the time. Putting the drugs down for a while, building up, breaking down, building up, breaking down, and eventually getting to a point where I really was doing what I didn't want to do anymore, but I didn't know how not to do it. And at that stage, what I did know is that there was somebody that was getting it right, and things that I should have listened to, and that was Mr. All. It was probably after about a 4-year binge of not wanting to use drugs anymore, but not knowing how to not use drugs anymore, and life got worse. It got difficult. I went to the streets. I was in and out of courtrooms, in and out of prisons, in and out of hospitals. Um, at that stage, I was probably more in hospitals and institutions and jails than what I had been at family functions. Um, so at that stage, I got myself to a point where mom hadn't shut the door, dad didn't know what to do anymore with me, and I can imagine what that must do to parents. You just don't know why this guy is behaving and doing this, and you've tried all ways of giving them opportunities to do things, and all of that. And I got to a point where I was so desperate. I was trying to hold onto jobs. Life eventually became, I was, if I was talking to you about something other than drugs, it was either to manipulate you, because I was very, very ill in my mind at that time. Yeah, geez, as I'm speaking, I don't want to get emotional. You know what I mean? But as I'm speaking, I'm thinking of the birthdays and the weddings and the functions, and the you getting to a point where you're so desperate to not be like that anymore, and it becomes my opportunity to reach out. And I got so deep into isolation that the insanity of it was, some people know where the distance between Boersig and Pardon Island is. I was working at Lagoon Beach Hotel and Spa, and there was somebody in my area. When I would work morning shift, I would have to, just to be able to function for the day, not wanting to do it, I would have to stop in the location at 4:30 in the morning, walk from Boersig to either Summer Greens or Slovo, into it's dangerous areas at that time of the morning, walk in there and have to get a fix before work to be able to function. When somebody in my area was traveling that way because they work with me, instead I would walk that distance after the drug. And I think through that desperation for the drug, and the brokenness of just, trying to be a normal person, hold down a job and sort of outwardly function as well. It breaks you inside because you're doing something that you do not want to do anymore. Some people say that I speak really well. I know for the first 9 months in 2014, all I done was walk around here and look at my shoes and look at the ground. Couldn't speak. There was so much pain inside of me. I didn't know how to live anymore, with or without drugs. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know what I was meant to feel when people spoke to me. And I came across this program. Not came across it. I reached out to Mr. Wall once again, because the longest lived help that I had gotten previously before that was from Mr. Wall. And I'd lost all faith in doctors. I was addicted to prescription drugs completely. I substituted prescription drugs for street drugs. I just couldn't stay off anything. I would wake up in the morning and pop tranquilizers and use opiate-based medications, methadone and morphine and that sort of thing before I used street drugs, just to be able to physically make it to and to function. And I was completely numb inside with a pain. I'm not sure what words to use or how to explain it, but I think I got to a point where I used to walk out of the complex looking down at my arms and just thinking, all I'd done was work, merchant, and sleep. If I didn't work in the hospitality industry and my mom wasn't being a mother like all mothers do and feeding me when I was on the streets and things like that, then I think it's the hospitality industry that kept me alive, because all my money went to wasn't even on transport to work and back. It went on drugs. Luckily, I worked in kitchens and in hospitality, and that is where I ate. Sometimes going for days without washing or showering and things like that. And that's what makes me also, respect our doctor the way I do, Dr. Rihanna, because she teaches me a lot about the different medications and things like that. Helps me like to say, hey, if you're feeling like this or that, don't try as far as possible not to take medication unless you need it, really, really need it, and things like that, because we're vulnerable to getting addicted to it. So I'm just gonna actually days just for today. And we're always speaking about the gift of desperation. But there was so much resistance and pride in me that I couldn't ask for help, but yet I couldn't understand. I couldn't stop what I was doing to myself. Yes, Mom, I took Valiums like Smarties. And I think maybe because prior to 2014, when I used to go to the RAEL meetings and I was close to Mr. Wall and stayed sober, like that, maybe I just wasn't ready or hadn't been through enough. And that's the sad part about addiction, is that how much do addicts need to go through before the willingness to change comes. If I still had the safety net, if up until today I still had my dad standing behind me in court willing to bail me out, I don't think I would have been alive today. So I'm grateful for that. It put me in a situation where I didn't have another option. So I was blessed with a gift of desperation. And I didn't always like what Mr. Hall said, but I knew that he was telling the truth, and I knew, because of my past experience with him in 2007, 8 and 9 was You know, I don't always like. I've tried the medications, I've tried the doctors, I've tried the psych wards, I've tried the moving around to different provinces, I've tried the making boundaries for myself, I've tried the promising my family and loved ones, I've tried other people handling my money, but I'm just not getting this thing right. So I knew that even though I didn't always like what this man was saying, he was still staying sober from the time that I had left him in 2008, 2009, in the time that he taught me a little bit about recovery. And it was only when I stopped listening that life had gotten worse and I had gotten so desperate. So I think through all the batter and fight and all of that, I had no more fight left in me. I I had no more fight left in me when I arrived here in 2014. And today I know that was the gift of desperation. All those different things that I went through, that was all grace. That was all saved by grace. And to me, it didn't matter where I was going or what. I just didn't believe what I told myself anymore because I had made myself so many broken promises. And I remember coming in and Mr. Hall telling me it's going to be okay. All you need to do is listen to me. You don't need to try. You don't need to just give up and put the white flag up, Paul. And as I done that, I found that I wouldn't say the first time, but one of the things that I struggled with in my life was listening to other people and you know how addicts and arrogant people are sometimes, or at the age of 21 you think you know it all. I discovered that maybe I did have a listening problem, and that if I had listened, I wouldn't have been through all the things that I had to go through. So I was given the gift of desperation, and that is, when I read Today's Just for Today, made me believe how much of a gift that really is. Just like on a daily basis, I'm given the gift of recovery that is so freely shared with it's so freely shared by a person that I couldn't have asked for a better way of a message being brought over to me, because nobody could get through to me the way Mr. Hall could. I knew that he knew something about recovery because he was sober and he was doing something that was working, and what he was doing, if he taught me that, it could just work for me. And that's why we ask you to share this, please, people, is that it could just work for somebody. That is why we spend time in sharing and doing what we can do. Not a man can't make a meeting by himself, but with your guys' help, we can prevent people from walking down the same road. We can prevent families from going through the same pain. A disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until, in desperation, we sought help from other people in recovery. There was nobody else left that could help me. I had tried everything. All I needed to do was grab the hand that Mr. Hall reached out to me. And I didn't even have enough left in me to grab on that. And he took hold of me and helped me. Not because my parents didn't want to help me, but because they didn't know how to get through. When we think of being desperate, we envision an undesirable state, a poor, bedraggled soul frantically clawing at something sorely needed. I needed something somehow to get me out of that. I didn't want to be on drugs anymore. I didn't know how not to be on drugs anymore. But I hated what I was doing. A desperate look in the eyes. We think of hunted animals, hungry children, and of ourselves before we found this program. Yet it was the desperation we felt before coming to the program that compelled us to take that first step of powerlessness that Mr. Hall speaks about when he shares the 12 step. As I said, we were fresh out of ideas, and I had to open myself to new ones. My way wasn't working anymore. The suggestions people had given me that hadn't had the experience that so badly in their heart wanted to help me, they didn't. All I needed to do was put up the flag that I can't lead anymore. I need to follow. Follow somebody that's walked through it, that's been through it, and that's willing to help. And at that stage, I couldn't carry myself through it, and the guys at RAEL at the time, the RAEL family we like to call it, carried me through it every step of the way. I sat in meetings quiet, just listening, and it started making sense slowly. There was a pain inside of me that I never knew that a human being could feel, that the drugs took away. And as the answers came, and RAEL and Mr. Hall and the other guys in recovery shared what they had felt, their solutions to it, and how to get out of it, it's almost as if when I got here, I don't know if you guys have been through Worcester Tunnel, but I've been through there once when there was a blackout, and it takes a while for the generator to kick in. And it's almost as if there's a black sheet at the other side of the tunnel, and there's a pinprick there. And what happens as you enter recovery, desperate, flag up, completely messed up, as you listen to the way Mr. Hall teaches it, and as I say, it wasn't the pain of the drugs. That's why it's not only for people that's in recovery, it's for the families and things as well, because I'm sure the families felt like that as well. That you're in this tunnel and it's just black on the other side. There's maybe a pinprick of light. And as the time goes on, there comes another pinprick and another pinprick. And we struggle, and maybe it gets a bit dark again. And the people that are there, that have been through it, share more. And as I said, I've been to the mental institutions, I've been to ICUs, I've been to surveillance rooms, I've been to more than one correctional facility, I've relocated countless times, I've been to doctors, I've been to 21-day, 28-day rehabs, but by the time I left there, I wasn't even completely detoxed yet. And everything that Mr. Hall said to me came true. Little by little, he said to me, "Don't worry, your family will come back." He said to me, "Don't worry, they will eventually come visit you." And I've seen people being written off through the doors. And I know that this program works because it worked for me. I have everything back today that I'd say I gave away. That I allowed the drugs to take away from me through my behavior. But I had to feel the pain. I needed to feel the pain to recover from it. When I couldn't sleep at night, it started with small examples. Don't worry, your sleep will come back. You'll start sleeping more hours a night. That's where these dark bags come from. There was times I laid and stared at the ceiling till the chickens on Rainbow started making a noise. Then I at least knew, okay, the night is over, you've made it through. The man wasn't lying. Because sometimes not being able to spend 4 or 5 hours without having another drug or drink or fix or something, tablet to put in my body, sometimes you get a little bit proud of yourself, and you start believing in somebody when they tell you that you can make it through the night or you can make it through the day. And when the end of the day comes, you check, oh, it's another day one. And days turn to weeks. Weeks turn to months. And months obviously turn to years. But I wouldn't exchange the journey for anything else. I know Mr. Hall is coming up with 15 years solid, proper sobriety, according to the book. And that I can tell you now, that I've been to the different support group rooms. Solid sobriety like that. If there's anybody that can find that anywhere close by, then we'd like to hear you share your story and how you've done it. And as time progressed, the different issues and pains and hurts and hang-ups and obsessions came up. And little by little he gave me answer after answer. And because I had tried the little things that he suggested in the beginning, and those were materializing and coming true, he said that it worked for him, it might just work for me. I tried it. The sleep came back as the painful times went through. I know most addicts, when we stop doing drugs, there's an extreme hunger inside of us. Sometimes it's just the body's physical need. Sometimes it's almost, they call it the hole in the soul that we're trying to fill. And little things he told me, that eventually that will balance out, it will go away, you won't be hungry all the time. And that's what made me start believing him. He said those physical little pains will start disappearing. And so yeah, I was fresh out of ideas, because I'll never forget the saying that goes, my best thinking got me here. My best thinking. I try to think and do all of my ways out of this addiction thing. And the stigma that is attached to it is it just rips a person further into the ground. Because you're walking around doing something that you don't want to do. When it gets to the last stages of the desperation, yet everybody around you thinks that this is what you want to do. So I think my experiences of community service and hospitals and institutions and streets and insanity of locations and things like that gave me a glimpse of how desperate I was for drugs. And Mr. Hall said to me, all you need to do is that desperation that you were to get. You just need that little bit of oomph. And just the way you fed your addiction, you need to start feeding something new in life. You need to change your lifestyle. You need to forget what you were feeding before. And he used the example of two wolves, the good wolf and the bad wolf. And he said, you've been feeding the bad wolf for years, my boy. Maybe it's time you start feeding the good wolf. And each time you feed him something, you'll eventually get bigger and fatter and eat up the bad wolf. I'm not saying that I'm a saint, but I can promise you that I feel better than what I felt before I was ever on drugs. I feel better than any drug I've taken. And I've taken most. from the Tipex thinners right down to the heroin, all the inhalants. I just didn't go too much in the hallucinogenics because I took trips once and I chased animals, like I said, around the hospital for 2 weeks. I think it was for about 9 days. But in a certain sense, it's not a joke, but I can share that I've come back from that, and that there is a God and there is people along the path that care and can help you out of that. We were fresh out of ideas. So I had a mask for every occasion. When I was getting cucked out, I felt nothing, but I would pull the right face that people expected me to feel or to pull. I was at a point where I was losing friends, family, and loved ones to different reasons. A lot of friends to drugs. Whoa. Suicides, overdoses, organ failures, car accidents, loved ones through natural causes and things like that. And I had to get to a point where I was honest and serious with myself. And where I had to get new ideas from somewhere. I needed complete deflation, and drugs had humbled me, broken me, and ripped me to pieces. Some said that I was beyond human aid. And maybe I was. But God had bigger plans, and He put Mr. Hall on my path. And I can only speak about, I mention Mr. Hall's name so much because I can only speak about what's worked. I can't use dacha. I can't use tablets that put me on a pluck. I can't drink beer because everything I do to the extreme. And 2 weeks later, I got a needle in my arm. So as it progressed, I promised myself as a young kid I wouldn't smoke cigarettes. Then I broke that promise to myself. And that is how we break our spirit. Then I promised myself I would never smoke weed. Broke that promise. And that is as we go along and do things that we don't want to, it sucks the soul out of us. And our insanity, I'm going to carry on reading here. Our insanity had finally risen higher than our wall of denial. Forcing us to get honest about our situation and disease. Our best efforts at control had only worn us out. It makes us tired. Trying to stop, trying to move, trying to do other ways. I was clean for a while, and I started binge drinking, and I'll tell you how God works. I can't drink myself to sleep one night, and I'm screaming, "Yes, Kurt, what is wrong with you?" Oh. I make so much cuck the night before that I have to have a dope when I wake up to face the people. And I think my mom and dad can tell you about me making shit. And a couple of other people. And just because of that feeling of guilt and all of that. And I wake up, or I couldn't sleep that night. I tried drinking myself to sleep, and it just wasn't working because I was withdrawing from opiates as well. And I said, "Yes, please, God, I don't want to go to rehab again, But please, help me in some way. I can't do this anymore. So we leave the place. We were actually on holiday. Before the trailers unhooked off the car, I jump out, I run to the dealer. I had never been locked up for possession case in my life. I'd been doing drugs for 20 years on and off. And a week later, I promise you, in that prayer I said to God, please help me, but I don't want to go to rehab again. Because I had given up on rehabs at that stage. And I get caught on the Summer Greens Bridge by the flying squad with drugs that wasn't even on me, and I get a 3-month sentence in Paulsmoor. Obviously there was a fine and a bail and all of that as well. At the time I didn't know that God was answering my prayers, because I asked him, please God, I need your help to get me away from this drugs, but I don't want to go to rehab. So I still had conditions and reservations on it. So I spent 3 months in Paulsmoor, came home, forgot where I came from, and picked up the drugs again. Done all the same shit again that I repeated. And by that time I was tired. And it says here, our best efforts at control had worn us out. I was worn out. Hence we became willing to surrender. I was desperate, and that's why I came here, surrendered. White flag up. We had received the gift of desperation. As a result, we were able to accept the spiritual principles that make it possible for us to recover. I'll go a little bit deeper into the spiritual principles. I don't want to keep you the whole night, because I know sometimes it isn't that interesting. But hopefully we can help somebody if we all share this together. One man doesn't make a meeting, I'll repeat that. All of us together sharing our experience, strength and hope makes a meeting. You share something that helped you, can maybe help somebody else. We'll go into the spiritual principles. It's in our list. It doesn't say that we become Bible bashers. Desperation is what finally drives many of us to ask for help. Once we've reached this state, we can turn around and start anew. I couldn't crave the life that I had before the destructive part of the drugs anymore. That needed to be in the past completely. Just as the desperate, hunted animal seeks a safe haven, so did I, and that safe haven was RAEL. And even though I'm on for about 10, 11 days, sometimes longer, I'm also off. But I come back to the safe haven. I come back here to the people that got me to the point where I'm at. Not because of love, but because if I don't do this, if I don't put my recovery first, or no, there's a saying that goes, I put my recovery first so that everything I care about doesn't have to come last. The gift of desperation. And I hate it that addicts have to get to that point. Not all of them, but most of them have to get to that point. How to become honest, open-minded and willing. It helped me become honest with myself. It helped me become less arrogant and open-minded to listen to somebody that's been through it. To go to any lengths, the same, just the 10% of the lengths that I went through to getting my drugs and finding ways and means to get more, I needed to put into my recovery. And that's how I feed my recovery every day. Because if I stop feeding it, I'm either working on my recovery or I'm working on my relapse. So I need to be a step ahead of this all the time. And that's what my experience tells me. That's what Mr. Hall's experience tells me. And yeah, thanks Craig for visiting me at Paulsmoor, because my mom had visited me years ago before that in Goodwood countless times. My mom wouldn't go to Paulsmoor while I was there. I don't blame her. But yet something in me expected her to go through all of that. being searched, waiting in long lines, and all of that stuff that a person's parents go through to help them. So I'm just going to end off by saying thank you all for listening, and maybe it was a bit drawn out, but I just want to say that I'm grateful for everybody that's watching, and for RAEL itself and Mr. Hall, and that I'm grateful for the gift of desperation, and that gift has turned to passion that was passed on to me by Mr. Hall. Give Mr. Hall a couple of minutes. He doesn't talk much, but when he talks, to all the recovering addicts out there, it's best we listen. That's me sharing my experience. It's best we listen when he talks. So thank you all. Please remember to click the share, not to share my face or anything like that, but to share the message that anybody can recover. I didn't go too deep into the war stories, but when they said I was beyond human aid, nobody can help me. The doctors said, "Nooit, this oak is going to die with a needle in his arm under the bridge." Here's the proof sitting tonight. Okay, thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. I listened closely to Kurt's share there, and I know you mentioned my name probably more times than we've mentioned cigarettes in the last 3 months. But what it is I've known Kurt for many years, over a decade, and we were always friends. Even when he was high or whatever, we were friends. But in me carrying this message to the people that come into this facility and at the schools and universities or wherever I go, excuse me, where I'm invited, someone carried that message to me. All I'm doing is carrying the message that was carried to me. I'm now carrying that message to Kurt Schuler and the rest of the people here. I've earmarked Kurt and 1 or 2 other people to take this place over one day. You know, I'm not getting any younger, and I'd also like to go and travel and go do some other things. And if Kurt continues to do what he's doing now, I give a lot of the things that probably I should be doing, I hand it over to Kurt now. And I don't scrutinize him, I just watch him how he does it, and he does it excellently. I've always said this, he's the best manager one can get, because he's compassionate with the people. He knows drugs inside out in more ways than one. He knows the medication when the people come here, and he knows how to treat people. He may be a short man, but he's a very tough man. And in this business, you have to be tough, you have to have hair on your teeth, and you have to realize that you don't take shit here. You give a lot of love, but we're not here for ingrown toenails or for parties or for just fun times the whole time. There's a serious message here that we know, and it's been proved over and over and over by the men that are out in the world today, that if you take the cotton wool out your ears and you put it into your mouth and you listen, 2 things can happen. You can either listen and walk out the gates one day and say, well, what did those bloody people tell me? Or you can go out the gates and listen and say, you know what? I've heard something here at this place that will help me never to use drugs again, never to use alcohol, and give my loved ones the life they deserve. And more importantly, the life that I deserve, that I can give to my kids, etc. It's one thing to hold on to something, and to me, I'm a very great fan of Winston Churchill. Leadership must be passed on. And there comes a time in a life where a leader, I don't believe in making followers. I believe in making leaders. And there's a lot of leaders here at RAEL. There's Graham the Great van Rensburg, who runs the panel shop. There's Angus, who leads on this farm. There's AD, who leads in the outside. But the ultimate authority will be with Kurt and I've been passing that on to Kurt. And I'm telling you now, not because his mother and father are watching, and they're beautiful people. I've known the family and his sister Lucille for a long, long time. Kurt has the makings of one of the finest rehabilitation, addiction speakers that this country has ever seen. Because he all the boxes that you put into the category of carrying the message have been ticked. And it's up to him now to continue ticking the box, to make sure those boxes stay ticked. He's an excellent example of when they said he will end up with a needle in his arm. Kurt Schuler is not going to end up with a needle in his arm. Because he had the love of his mother, he had the love of his father, he had the love of this man, and he had the love of other people as well. When I hear Craig went to go visit him in Paulsmore. But the most of all is he had the love of God. And we must never forget that. We are servants. We are servants of the people. When people come to us, we are the hands and the feet on the ground to serve people. We see this debilitating illness and disease killing our young children. We see there's no political will to stop the drug trade. They can stop the cigarette trade, but why not stop the drug trade? Because it's easier to find a packet of cigarettes in someone's car than it is to go into a drug dealer. And I'm talking that from my experience as a narcotic bureau detective. The whole point of this live broadcast every night is to carry a bit of hope. And if we can carry that hope and plant that seed, because you can't plant an apple tree and expect to get peaches. We must plant that seed into everyone. Even the people, and I'm very big on this, let's plant the seed before we get the chaos. Let's go out like we do go out to schools and that, and go and tell them the truth. And say, hey, listen here, my brothers and sisters who think you're so big in Standard 5, and Standard 8 and whatever you call it, grade 10, I don't know anymore because I only got a Standard 7. You don't have to crucify me for that. And go tell them, you know what? I also thought I was the wise guy. I also thought that my mother and father didn't have sex to have me. I also thought that my mother and father knew nothing what was happening in this world. Only to later realize, hey, hold it. They've already been through it. They now trying to carry the message to me. The message they carried to me, I ignored. And I know where it got me. And a lot of parents have carried to their children are ignored. And we have to then go through the pain. You know, there's no other option but to go through the pain. I always say that, you know, when we're in this bubble and we come in and people come into rehab and they want to do this and this and this and say, hold it, my bro, one day at a time. Because our minds are working that we're trying to get the self-gratification the whole time, and it doesn't work. We first have to fix ourselves before I can fix anything. I first have to be healthy before I can fix someone else. I must know where I'm going to, what am I doing, have I made amends, have I worked on my character defects, before I can do anything else. It's not a message to carry just to put down the drug and the alcohol. Just to put down the drug and the alcohol is very easy. But it's to maintain a new kind of lifestyle. That is what is important, is the new kind of lifestyle. Let me just go if there's any messages here. Oh, that's true, Michelle. He has the passion to help young people. And he's got a passion for the future. He's a young man who's got so much to offer. And I've always believed in that in the 12, 13 years that I've known this man. Otherwise, I'd never have taken him back here. I would never have taken him back here. But I knew what he was capable of. So we will walk the road. And we walk the road with respect for each other. Absolute respect for each other. We don't have to duck around corners and lie to each other. And when we've got an issue, we sort it out and it's done. When we sit down, we make a decision, and I will say to Kurt, what do you think of the decision I made? And he'll say to me, no, Mr. Hall, I think we should do it that way. And if his way is right, or better than I thought of, then I'll say, Kurt, thank you, my brother. We'll do it your way. That's how we make leaders in this country, and we don't make followers in this country. Because the more we follow, the less we will find any direction as leaders. There'll never be a direction when you follow. So all the guys that are on the rail farm, and we got another couple in today, and they're in the quarantine corona section on the other side of the farm. They must stay there for 14 days. I didn't do their drugs. And that's not a penalty. That's not a punishment. I got a guy in here on last week. Came out of prison. Bail conditions, have to come to rail. Have to stay until the end of the case. That could be a long time, because our justice system is so stuffed that could take a long time. Because Zuma's going to take up most of the time in the courts. But that is what we have to pay, and maybe that is what's going to teach him that this is not a game we are playing. This is a game that, if you want to call it a game, it's not the game that we're playing. Our very lives and the very lives of our young ones depend on it. Our children depend on us. I'm 56 years old. I know I look 40. But, excuse me, what do you say there, Kurt? 35. 35, okay, we'll take it. Kurt says 35 and Graham says 32. So we'll take that as a compliment. At 56, there was no ways, if I had carried on my drinking and my drugging, that I could have my mother 10 meters away from me in a bedroom with 2 nurses. That to me is the rewards of sobriety, not a new car, not a new house, not a new pair of Nikes. The rewards of sobriety is that this drunk and this addict could find and come right through a man who took his time to carry the message to me. Anthony Hall is not carrying the unique message to Kurt Schuler and the rest of the rail guys. I'm carrying the message that was carried to me 15 years ago. And the day I lose the passion, and the day that I put my feet out of the bed, hi Tanya, the day that I put my feet out of the bed and I've lost that passion is the day I must give up. And that could be very scary. Because 15 years does not make you immune to alcohol and drugs. But it gives me great satisfaction here tonight to know that I am able, as a man who slept on the streets and went to prison many times, that I can look after my mom, my most prized possession. I know I've got a partner, but she can just hang on. But my most prized possession that God has given me, I to her. That is priceless. And that is what I teach the boys on this farm. Look after your bloody mothers and fathers. Look after them at all times. Love them and respect them and honor them at all times. Your sisters, your brothers. Because while we were geroek and drunk and with a horse and gambling and doing whatever, all those nice things, they were at home worrying about where we were and what we were up to. When would that phone ring? I'd like to just finish off and read today. I think today is the 18th. Something to give you to. Okay, I'm actually just going to choose my birthday. It's 21st of February for those who are interested. I only take notes. Hey Kurt, we only take notes, eh? Yes. Notes and cupcakes from Lucille. Lucille makes the most beautiful cupcakes. You must actually order from her. Kurt's beautiful cupcakes, but I haven't seen any for the last couple of months or so, but I'm sure that when the lockdown is over, we'll get our cupcakes again. Oh, Michelle, I see you online. Hello, Maverick, my friend. Sarah from the United States of America. I was very blessed to go and speak in Ohio and New York. Sarah, and I will never forget it, and I hope to one day return to the United States, a beautiful country. A beautiful country. Maybe I'm going to say something now, Sarah, that you're not going to like, but I support Donald Trump. You know, I just like the way he operates. We all got problems. And I'm going to read this on my birthday. Oh, this is the birthday reading. And I just want to remind all the people here, the women here, to contact Michelle and Rihanna for the tickets to the reopening of Mavericks, which I've never been to. And, once I've been to, drunk. And Michelle will organize you the tickets, the transport, and everything that goes with it. Thanks, Michelle, for carrying the message in that way. Self-pity is one of the most destructive of defects. It will drain us of all positive energy. In active addiction, many of us use self-pity as a survival tool. We didn't believe there was an alternate to living in our disease. Okay, thanks, Lucille. See, it works. The social media is powerful if you use it in the same way, in the right way. Thank you, Lucille. Love you forever. You make the best cupcakes. I remember you made one of the cakes for my birthday. I'll never forget that. Never forget that. Thank you. Thank you, Lucille. Jeez, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm a big Trump fan, eh? And I'm not, you see, I'm not trying to put my, I was once dead, but I wasn't buried. I support Donald Trump and I support Israel. Finish and Clive. If you don't like it, pick another channel. But people these days are so afraid to stand up for what they believe. That's why we're believing every piece of shit that comes our way. Stand up for what you believe in. Took me a long time from being a people pleaser. People pleasing doesn't work. We didn't believe there was an alternative to living in our disease, or perhaps we didn't believe it. As long as we could feel sorry for ourselves and blame someone else for our troubles. We didn't have to accept the consequences of our actions, believing ourselves powerless to change. When I was on the park bench, I thought I was powerless. I could never change. When I had no teeth in my mouth for so long, I thought I could never change. But I got to a point in my life when I got sobriety, and I saw my dad on his deathbed. I made him 2 promises, and I was still drinking then. And I said, Dad, I will look after Mom. Come hell or high water, I will look after your wife. And the second promise I made him, Dad, I am going to get sober. My dad taught me to be very straight. I've made a lot of enemies, but I've made more friends. I believe in what I believe in. Outside my farm is the flag of Israel, because I love Israel. And I've been there 3 times, and I hope to go there again. I love what they believe in, and I love the way they operate. I'm never going to compromise again in my life for anything, because I used to compromise a lot. It was people pleasing for a benefit. I don't need that benefit anymore. Using the survival mechanism kept from us entering recovery and led us to a closer day by day to self-destruction. Now we can do, I'm sure you've seen it on Facebook, we can go to the casino, or we can first take a hooker to the movies. Then we can go to the casino. Then we can book into a hotel. Then we can go downstairs and have breakfast. Then we can go have our haircut. But we can't go visit old people in the old age home. We can't go visit our friends. And we can't have an NG. You must be stupid to believe that con. Self-pity is a tool of our disease. Hi, Lee J, love you as well. Hi, Sandy, beautiful. Praise the Lord. Self-pity is a tool of our disease. You know what, actually listening to Kurt this evening, like fired me up. Because I thought, what grace on that man's life. What grace on that man's life. We need to stop using it and learning instead the new tools we find in this recovery. We have come to believe that effective help is available for us when we seek that help. Many of us say, I'm not going to go into recovery. I'm not going to go to meetings until I get my wife back, till I get my boyfriend back, till I get my auntie back, till I get my mother back, till I get my job back, etc., etc., etc. It doesn't work. Because you wouldn't have lost him in the first place if you weren't drugged and drunk every night. Time to take the gloves off of addiction recovery. You can't pussyfoot around like they are at some places and at some talks. Don't tell a person, it's okay, it'll all be fine, it'll all be fine. Tell him the raw, unadulterated, honest truth. Many tools are at our disposals. We got the Bible. We got God. Whether you believe it or not, hearties. We got the 12 steps. We know how to do the 12 steps. We got the support of a mentor. I've still got a sponsor. My sponsor's 48 years sober. His son is 30, he's 42 years sober. They are my sponsors. Because everyone needs a sponsor who needs a sponsor. The fellowship of other recovering alcoholics and addicts. You saw it here tonight. The banter amongst the guys. The laughter amongst the guys. The guys reminding someone, hey, remember Kurt, you burnt down the butchery, or you did this, or you did that. And other people will come in here like Garth and Andrew and Craig, etc. And we'll throw banter with each other. But we know as well, come the shit, we will stand together. If you phone and say, hey, I'm going to relapse, or I feel like I'm going to drug, I can guarantee you someone from this farm will drive to where that person is. That's the brotherhood of love. We can't just get love and expect, I'm going to forget my brother. He's going to come here and he's been sober for a year or two and suddenly he's going through a bad time and I'm going to abandon him. Too many times in this country we've been abandoned by many. Story. When a guy said to me one day, Anthony, you will never sober up. So I said, okay, that's cool. I probably won't sober up, but I'm going to give it a shot one day. I think I was sitting on the park bench with no teeth in my mouth. And that wasn't like a pretty sight, because I'm not even a pretty sight with teeth in my mouth. I didn't want to prove to him that I can get sober. I wanted to do it for Anthony Hall. It's like the one minister in Parliament who says that the vegetables come from Pick and Pay. What is she smoking? Because whatever she was smoking, it wasn't on the market when I was smoking. The availabilities of these tools is more than enough reason to be grateful. How grateful am I tonight? How grateful am I to be sober? How grateful am I to have good friends? How grateful am I to have a lovely partner? How grateful am I to run a recovery center? How grateful am I to have my 6 dogs that are inside and the 2 outside? How grateful am I tonight? How grateful have I got a bed? How grateful I've had a warm plate of food? How grateful have I that I've even got cigarettes? Sometimes we miss the gratitude. My friends, my dad once said to me, Anthony, be good to the people on your way up. You may need them on the way down. The availability of these tools is enough reason to be grateful. What are you grateful for tonight? What am I grateful? We're sitting here and we're looking at each other and we can be grateful for one thing, and we're grateful for many things, but we can be grateful for one thing, that we're all together. We're all together in this race. We may have arrived on different boats or different ships we sailed in. Mothers and fathers and addicts and alcoholics. Different ships. But we're all in the same boat. We're all striving for the same goal. I've never seen a better addict than another better addict, and another better alcoholic than another better alcoholic. We're all the same. The difference is just how long we've been sober and how we've changed our lives. We no longer live in isolation. As Kurt said, we don't have to walk down the road and worry about who's coming left, who's coming right. Not at all. Not at all. We are proud, upstanding citizens of this country once we become into recovery. And they will go out there, and those who want to stay proud, upstanding citizens of this nation and be fathers and be the backbone of the house and look after their mothers and look after their wives are going to be blessed. Not sitting at a drug den, getting dakgeroep and phoning mother for money, or phoning your wife for money. Or letting the worst thing that can happen is letting the mother and the father bury the child. It should never happen from drugs, ever. We have certain help at hand for anything we may face. Beautiful, Diane. It's beautiful to read. A son asking for help. If his motives are right, he will stay sober. There's no doubt about that. We think recovery is difficult. Recovery is very difficult if you don't want to push through the hard times. But you'll walk in the rain to the drug dealer. You'll walk in the snow to the drug dealer. I used to walk in the bottle stores without shoes on my feet. Because I was desperate to get to the bottle stores, I forgot that I had to put shoes on. Diane, give us a call. Let's see what we can do for your son. The surest way to become grateful is to take help available to us and to experience the improvement that the program of recovery will help. Today, just for today, I will be grateful for the hope that recovery, and you can put God there, given me. I will cultivate my recovery and stop cultivating self-pity. Pour me another drink. We have got no time, and we can't be us addicts and alcoholics with self-pity. Sorry, I'm just reading this here. Because we used to drip with self-pity. And we used to promise mothers and fathers that this will be the last time. I will never do it again. To the parents out there, there's a beautiful word and it's only got 4 letters in and it's not fuck. It's hope. Never give up. And here I want to commend Michelle, who's been through a torrid time. And I know I rip her about Mavericks. I know she's never been there. It's a personal joke from RAEL with her. But what she has done for a child, I've seen it firsthand on this farm for over a year. Don't give up that hope, Michelle. We cannot allow ourselves to give up 5 minutes before the miracle. The miracle is going to happen for all of us. Let us stay close. Let us stay tight. As citizens of this nation. As sober citizens of this nation. I'm going to pray for those who want to pray with, and then we can close. And thank you very much to Kurt for a beautiful share. And Graham has just come in from work now. Graham has been working the whole time. It is now 10 to 10. And he's been working, getting the cars panel beaten. Carl has been working on his computer. He does taxes from inside. We've been up since 6 o'clock this morning. Angus has been looking after my mum. The other guys have been working at the animal shelter to help the animals because it's very cold in Worcester now. Everyone is playing their part. People don't write off addicts. And the world must know that. Don't write us off, man. We're not some piece of scum that walked on the earth, man. God didn't make no crap. We just made the wrong choices. And we've got a time to rectify that. Let us pray. Oh, thank you, God, for another night that we can share this message around the world, Lord. Thank you that it's now reached the United States of America as well. We thank you for blessing us with sobriety, Lord, on this farm, and for all our friends that are out there that came through this farm and who didn't come through this farm, but that are sober tonight, Lord. Lord, I ask you to bless the parents whose children are in rehabilitation centers around the country, or on the streets, Lord, or still using. May that light come upon them, Lord, that came upon us, that gave us the hope to see and look for a better future. Bless our nation, Lord. Bless all our friends. And may we know that your love, Lord, will carry us through and make us the victors in the end. Thank you, Lord, in your beautiful name. Amen. Thank you, and God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you again. You got our numbers. It's 071 5923165, and it's all on the website www.rael.co.za. Thank you very much, and another beautiful night. I can feel the spirit in this house tonight. It's beautiful. It was an absolutely stunning message from Kurt, and that's what it's all about. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, everyone. Maria, who's come on there. Gaynor, thank you, everyone. Remember, you keep us sober. You just don't realize it. God bless you, and thank you.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Schuler. Thank you, Mr. Hall. That was a awesome meeting. It was very, very cool, gentlemen.
I'm just going to let it play there, but messages are still coming through.
Okay. Before posting,
Messages are still coming through. Well, cool. Well done. Just check.
you'll never lie down. It's still got it. It's not when you want to get outside on the cement.
Are you serious?
Okay.
Done.
Good night, all. God bless you. Please carry this message to people like you and me that carry this message that saved my life. God bless.